All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're uncovering the absolute secrets to making an incredibly authentic, mouth-watering Som Tum Pla-ra right in your own kitchen. You know the one. That iconic, vibrant Thai Green Papaya Salad packed with pickled crab and that rich fermented fish. It's a total staple of Thai cuisine, and we love it for that intense, explosive combo of spicy, sour, salty, and savory flavors. But actually, making it at home, well, that can be notoriously tricky for a lot of us. So we're going to break down a masterclass sourced from a Thai culinary expert to show you exactly how it's done, step by step, right from the foundational ingredients all the way to the final toss.
Look, if you have ever tried making papaya salad at home, only to end up with this sad, soggy texture that's like closer to wet noodles than a crisp salad, you are in exactly the right place. It is incredibly frustrating, isn't it? I mean, you go out, you buy all the authentic ingredients, you bust out the mortar and pestle and just pound away, but the final result, it just lacks that refreshing, explosive snap you get from a great street vendor. Well, our source material today pinpoints exactly where most home cooks go wrong. And spoiler alert, it almost always comes down to how they handle the texture of the core ingredient itself. So today, we're unlocking the ultimate insider technique for achieving that highly sought-after Grob Grob, or super crispy, texture that literally stays crunchy for hours. Grob Grob is basically the holy grail of Som Tum. It's that loud, super satisfying snap you hear in your head when you take a bite. It's the whole shebang that elevates the dish from just a simple salad to a dynamic culinary experience. And honestly, the best part? It's not magic. No way. It's just a highly specific series of techniques that absolutely anyone can replicate at home.
Now, what's really interesting here is that the crunch actually starts with your raw materials. You specifically want to hunt down the Damnoen variety of papaya. This is a crucial takeaway from our source. The pros? They don't just grab any random green papaya off the supermarket shelf. No, they specifically choose the Damnoen variety because its internal flesh is naturally way crispier and structurally denser than your standard varieties. If you start with the right foundation, you're already halfway to that perfect texture.
Okay, before we get to the big secret, you've got to follow these foundational prep steps. First, peel the skin completely off. Then, and this is super important, remove all the internal seeds and scoop out the inner core. But whatever you do, do not skip step number 3. See, raw green papaya secretes this sticky white sap, and if you leave it, it'll make your salad taste terribly bitter and turn your dressing all cloudy. So just a quick 5-minute soak in plain water washes that sap right down the drain, leaving you with a pristine, clean-tasting canvas.
Next up, when you're cutting it, step away from the box grater. A standard grater creates these uniform, mushy shreds that just instantly turn soggy the second they hit the dressing. Instead, you want to chop the top and shave the papaya down like you're sharpening a giant pencil. You hold the papaya in one hand, use a heavy knife to make rapid chops on the surface, and then carefully shave the flesh downwards. The source explicitly describes this as shaving a large pencil, and it's brilliant. This creates beautiful, rustic strands of varying thickness, some thick, some thin, which gives you an incredibly dynamic, crunchy texture to chew on.
All right, moving right along to the main event, the ice water secret, and unlocking maximum crunch.
The difference in this secret method is brilliant. Instead of just setting the shaved papaya aside like most people do, you must submerge those freshly shaved strands in an ice-cold water bath along with exactly 1 squeeze of lime juice. This is literally the ultimate hack from our chef's kitchen. Normally, you shave it, let it sit on a cutting board, and it immediately starts softening and losing moisture. But by plunging those strands directly into freezing water with a targeted hit of citrus, you are actively changing the physical structure of the fruit.
So here's the science behind it. The acid from the lime reacts with the freezing temperatures, and you need to let it sit in that bath for precisely 5 to 10 minutes to lock in the crunch. The freezing cold water shocks the plant cells, plumping them up with maximum hydration, while that single squeeze of lime slightly alters the pH, just enough to firm up the cell walls. Just don't leave it in there forever, right? 5 to 10 minutes is the absolute sweet spot to get that legendary Grob Grob status without making the strands waterlogged.
Once that timer goes off, drain the water completely. And boom, you've got intensely crispy strands ready for the mortar, or ready to be bagged and chilled for later. If you aren't making your salad right away, our source notes you can just pop these prepared strands into a bag and toss them right in the fridge's crisper drawer. Because you pre-treated them with that ice and lime shock, they're going to maintain their incredible snap until you're completely ready to start pounding.
Which brings us to our next step, pounding the flavor base in the mortar and pestle.
Now we pick up the pace and assemble our flavor arsenal.
We're combining the fiery heat of both fresh Ginda and roasted chilies with the deep, pungent umami of 4 huge tablespoons of Pla-ra, plus a touch of palm sugar. The complexity here is just astounding. We're talking small garlic cloves for a sharper bite, maybe a gash of MSG if you want that savory depth, and crucially, those 4 tablespoons of Pla-ra, that fermented fish sauce. That is what gives the dish its funky, authentic soul. Add in a teaspoon of palm sugar to balance the heat, some lime, small tomatoes, a half tablespoon of regular fish sauce, and wow, you've got a literal explosion of flavor waiting to happen.
Oh, and I definitely want to highlight this specific pro tip from the source. Your pickled crab will absolutely make or break this dish. You've got to avoid the overly salty ones, and specifically hunt down crabs fermented in fish sauce. This is an invaluable piece of advice for hitting that authentic taste. A lot of the time, pickled crab is preserved in a harsh brine of pure salt, which can completely overpower your salad. Finding fresh batches of crab fermented in fish sauce ensures you're adding rich, complex umami instead of just a massive blast of harsh sodium.
All right, let's talk technique, because the order of operations in your mortar is critical. You start by aggressively pounding the chilies, garlic, and MSG. But here's where people mess up. They throw everything else in all at once. Actually, scratch that. You absolutely must pound the long beans until they are completely crushed before adding your liquids. If you leave them in large chunks, they won't absorb the dressing. Only after the beans are crushed do you mix in your liquids, sugars, and tomatoes. And the final, most crucial step? You add your perfectly prepped papaya strands and just gently toss them. Seriously, do not pound the papaya with heavy force or you're going to destroy all that hard work you just did to make it crispy.
If you follow this specific sequence, balancing your lime for sourness and your fish sauce for saltiness, you are guaranteed a dish that is, as the source puts it, spicy, crunchy, and perfectly balanced. The beauty of this explainer is that it gives you the ultimate framework, right? But the final taste is entirely up to you. You can tweak the heat with the chilies or dial up the sourness with an extra squeeze of lime. But by using this exact structure, especially that ice bath secret and the strict mortar sequencing, your homemade Som Tum is easily going to rival the absolute best street food vendors out there.
So grab a mortar, test out this ice water hack for yourself, and experience it firsthand. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many other legendary street food flavors are hiding not behind secret ingredients, but behind simple, brilliant food science? Making complex, intimidating dishes accessible through structured steps is exactly what we love to do here. I highly encourage you to try that pencil shaving technique combined with the freezing lime water. It is a total game changer for sure. Let us know what famous recipe you want us to break down next. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and stay curious.